Good morning, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Powers. You'll see that I'm sitting next to a small classroom that looks something like the classroom that we have at our school. And we're going to use it this morning to talk about sitting in our circle for circle time, being a good listener. We're going to talk about some of the jobs that you might be asked to do at school. So we're going to use these little friends. Let me show you. We have all these little friends that are going to help us with our lesson. Maybe you've seen little people like this before. There's boys and girls. They have different colored shirts and pants. Some have short hair, some have long hair, some are taller than others, some like orange clothing. So those are this is our class. And it's a little bit like our class. We come in the morning, and let's start with what happens first. So we come in. If it's winter time, we take off our jacket and we hang our jacket up. When you get to your 3-year-old class, you'll do the same thing. You'll come in, you'll take off your jacket, you'll hang it up. You may also have what's called a cubby, which is something like these little cupboards here, where each student would have a little compartment where they would put any extra things they may have. They may bring a lunch box if it's lunchtime, if they're staying for lunch on any given day. If it's winter, they may have mittens and a hat, or perhaps you're bringing a toy or a book from home that you wanted to show the class. So it would go into your cubby. So we come in, you hang up your coats, you say hi to your friends, and we see what kind of toys and games and puzzles and things that Mrs. Wright has put out for us to look at. And then we listen and we see if we hear anything. And before long, we hear this. I'll show you what it is. You'll know. This is kind of fancy. Put it right here. I'm going to put it right here. Press this button and bing! It's a bell. When we hear the bell, what happens? We go to our yellow mats. And here we have, just like in our class, these little friends. They each have their own yellow mat. So we hear the bell, bing, and the teacher says, "Okay, friends, time to go to your mat." And off they go. Everybody goes and finds their mat. Sometimes they have names on them. Sometimes they might have shapes. Sometimes they're different colors. Our mats were yellow, but the mats could be blue. They could be orange, they could be yellow. Sometimes it's not even a mat. Some teachers may use a big rug or a huge mat. So you may find, for example, your teacher might say, "Okay, I want everybody to the rug." And here's what she means. She may have, instead of our yellow mats, she may have something like this, a big rug, one big rug. But it's the same thing. When you hear the bell, stop what you're doing, you put down whatever activity you're using, and you quietly, right, we don't run, you quietly go to your mat and sit down. Okay, so now we're sitting. What happens next? Well, we have to know how to sit, and Mrs. Wright reviewed that with us the other day. We sit down, we cross our legs, crisscross applesauce, and that's important so that our feet aren't bothering our friends. And then we get ready to listen. Listening. Such an important skill, and you've gotten really good at listening this year, but you'll get even better because next year your teachers will have so many things that they want to tell you. So how do we listen? What do we do with our bodies when we need to be a good listener? Here's what I like to do. I start at the top of my body and I go down my body and I say, what parts of my body can I use to be a good listener? So here's where I start. I start on top. I come down, and what do I see first? I come to my eyes. All right, what do my eyes do? My eyes need to be looking at the teacher, right? So my eyes are looking at the teacher, or the book if she's reading a book, or let's say a friend is showing a favorite toy, or maybe a gift they brought it, or a leaf, something from their yard that they think is interesting. They want to share it with the class. You use your eyes to look at the person or the object. Okay, let's keep going. Next, we come to our ears. All right, how can our ears help us be a good listener? Well, we use our ears to do what they are made to do, and they are made to listen. So all we really have to do is put our attention on our ears and let them do their job. Let the sounds go into our ears. All right, let's keep going. What's next? Oh, now we're at our mouth. What does our mouth do? Our mouth does nothing, right? Our mouth is shut. We keep our mouth closed tight because when our mouth is closed, then we're not talking and we can hear the person who is talking. All right, let's keep going. Next we come to our hands. What do we do with our hands? How can our hands help us listen? How can they help us at our circle time? Well, what we do with our hands is we take our hands and we simply place them in our lap. It's that easy. You can put them on your knees, on your thighs, you can rest them against your tummy, but you put them quietly in your lap, right? We don't use them to fuss with our friends or play with our shoe or pull on the edge of our neighbor's mat. We put our hands in our lap and we keep them quietly in our hands. Okay, what's next? We'll stop there and then we're going to come back in a moment and review the jobs that we do in our classrooms. I'll be back in a moment.